dive in, let's just take a second to realize something. Ilia Topuria held an entire press conference just for himself. I mean, seriously, who does that? But that's what makes Ilia stand out. Most fighters wouldn't even dream of doing something like this, or even if they did, it probably wouldn't work as well. But Ilia, he's a star now. One of the biggest names in MMA today, so when he talks, people listen. And honestly, this is exactly the kind of thing UFC should be doing more often. Not just those usual pre-fight presses, but something more personal, something to really sell the fighters. And this fight, Ilia versus Charles Oliveira, is massive. It's refreshing to see Ilia actually putting energy into promoting it himself.
Really, I know it's not quite fight week just yet, but it feels like it. You're here in Las Vegas, so how exciting is this for you? I mean, headlining International Fight Week, it doesn't feel like it was that long ago. You were just getting into the UFC, and now you're at the top of the sport.
Very happy to be able to headline this kind of event. I remember I fought once in the preliminary cards in the International Fight Week. Now that I have the chance to headline this event, I'm very happy and very excited.
And look, Ilia didn't even bring up who he beat in his UFC debut. That was Youssef Zalal, a guy who's also looking like a future top featherweight contender. Ilia just let his work speak for itself. No bragging, no hype, just results.
So a lot of us think like, you know, a move to a weight class, it's just the weight cut, it's just that week. Are you saying that you think this weight class change has changed everything for you and how you've been able to prepare moving into this fight?
Everything, because at the end of the day, that 10 pounds makes a lot of difference, you know, in my life. Because before I had to be like for 12 weeks cutting the weight. I haven't been able to enjoy like anything because I have to be like professional at the same time in the fight game and also in the nutrition part. So this time I have been able to enjoy the whole process and I'm very happy.
What's even more fascinating is that Ilia might actually be better at lightweight. Instead of focusing so much on cutting weight and dieting, he can finally put that energy into preparing to win. That changes everything. That means sharper striking, better cardio, better focus. And against someone like Charles Oliveira, he needs every edge he can get. Now, of course, there's a difference in how fighters move up. Like Max Holloway tried to do it against Justin Gaethje. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like when Luke Rockhold went up to light heavyweight, he was too big, lost gas, and it didn't end well. There's a sweet spot to hit when going up in weight, and Ilia seems to be aiming right for it. This isn't going to be like his fight against Jai Herbert, where Ilia had to jump in at short notice to fight at lightweight. He didn't have a full camp for that one. But this time, going against Charles, we'll see a better version of Ilia, stronger, more prepared.
Do you feel Charles presents any different challenges, any more challenge? Do you look at, I don't want to say easier opponent, obviously he's dangerous, but is it a more dangerous fight or a less dangerous fight than it would have been had it been Islam?
More dangerous fight than Islam, you say? I don't know. Every fight is a huge challenge. There's no easy fights when you get in this level. So they both represent a difficult matchup, of course, because they are both great athletes. They have completely different styles. So I don't know what to tell you. They're both difficult fights.
Yeah,
there's no easy fight.
And this is actually surprising. Ilia sees Charles and Islam Makhachev as similar level That's wild because most people would say Islam is tougher. Islam is more complete, more dominant, more everything. But Ilia doesn't care. He sees them both as dangerous in their own ways. And honestly, that kind of thinking might actually be showing respect to Charles. When a fighter compares someone to the one pound-for-pound guy in the world, that says something. Of course, we'll know more once Ilia actually fights Charles, and maybe Islam afterward. That's when we'll really see who's the tougher fight, but for now, Ilia just sees them as equals, and that says a lot.
I know you don't want to get away, talking about game plan, but people think of you in the UFC as a knockout artist, but before you came to the UFC, you were a submission threat, right? Obviously, we think about Charles' submission skills. Is this your power against his submission skills? Do you feel like maybe this is a matchup where you can prove, hey, I'm a great grappler too?
To be honest, I feel that I have the advantage in the grappling game also. I feel and I know that I'm better than him even in the ground game. So we'll see how the fight will go, because if I have to submit him, I have all the abilities to do that also. So we'll see. I can knock him out, I can submit him, whatever. The only thing I know for sure is that I'm gonna knock him out in the first round or submit him in the first round, because he walks forward. I'm not gonna need to close the distance with him. Since the first moment, we are gonna find each other in the center of the octagon. So, yeah, it's gonna be a first round finish.
Man, Ilia's confidence is next level. When he talks about this fight, you can't help but think of prime Conor McGregor, not because of the way he talks, but because of how sure he is about himself. He sees it all playing out clearly, even against the top dogs. And you know what? His analysis of Charles's game makes total sense. Charles pushes forward, he brings the pressure, and that's going to open him up. Ilia won't need to waste time feeling out the fight. He'll go right in, close the distance, and land heavy. He's not just confident in his punches, he believes in his grappling too. And that's crazy, because beating Charles on the ground is no joke. The only guy to do it in Charles's prime was Islam, maybe Ahmed too, kind of. But for Ilia to say he can do it, that's a serious belief in himself.
Ilia, if you look at Charles's most famous fights, right? Dustin, Gaethje, the two Chandler fights, he gets dropped in each fight. But he comes back and he wins those fights. So when you see that, do you look at it and go, man, if these guys drop him, I'll get him? Or do you look and think, man, if I hurt him, I still have to be very, very careful because he always comes back and wins?
If I hurt him, he's not gonna have the chance to come back. Because my power is completely different than the other guys you mentioned before.
Then there's this. Ilia says he hits harder than all those top-tier lightweights. Chandler, Gaethje, Poirier, all of them. And those guys hit like trucks. But Ilia still thinks his power is different. And maybe he's right. I mean, who's really eaten one of Ilia's big shots and stayed standing? Josh Emmett? Maybe, but barely. Nobody else has. Volkanovski? Folded. Herbert? Done. His technique gives his punches more power, unlike Chandler, who just swings wild. Ilia lands with precision and force. Dustin Poirier might have good boxing too, but Ilia, he might just have that next level snap, and if that's true, low-key Charles might not get back up after one clean shot.
Volkanovski, Holloway, Oliveira, would that be the best 3 wins back-to-back in MMA history?
I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no.
Oh, he knows. That smirk on Ilia's face, he knows exactly what he's doing. Beating Volk, Max, and now maybe Charles, that's one of the best 3-fight streaks in UFC history. Still, seriously, who else has done that? Cejudo maybe, when he beat DJ, TJ, and Marlon. But TJ dropped to flyweight and got popped for PEDs. Marlon wasn't on that legendary level, so no. Ilia's win streak is better. Islam's streak comes close. He beat Charles and Volk twice. But the second Volk fight was short notice, so Ilia's run still stands taller, especially because he's doing it while moving up a weight class. That's rare.
There's been a lot of talk in MMA about ducking at the moment. John Jones ducking Tom Aspinall, stuff like that. This was meant to be Islam, that was the big talk, but he moved up to welterweight. Do you believe he moved up to welterweight to avoid you, or because he has his own goals?
Because he has his own goals. This is what I think.
And Ilia's even changed his tune on Islam. Before, he accused him of ducking and running away by moving to welterweight, but now he's saying Islam's just chasing his own goals, like Ilia's. That's fair. If we say Islam's ducking Ilia for moving up, then Ilia's ducking featherweight contenders too, right? So no one's ducking, they're just going for greatness in their own way. Even if Ilia called him out before, maybe it was just to stir things up, get some attention, it worked.
Do you still think that's a fight that should happen? You guys are both forging legacies in different weight divisions. Do you think that's a massive fight that should happen?
We'll see how he does in the welterweight division. If he wins the title, I win the title in the lightweight division. Maybe I move up or he comes down to the lightweight division and we have the fight that everyone wants to see.
And here's the big one. Ilia wants to fight Islam so badly he'd go all the way up to welterweight just to make it happen. That's insane. He knows he'd be one of the smallest guys in that division, like Matt Serra sized. But you know what? Serra beat GSP, so anything's possible. If Ilia makes that move, he probably won't stay there, but for one big fight, he'd risk it all.
Last one for me, obviously, the Oliveira fight is a massive fight, but the one that's sort of been brewing for years and brewing in the background is this Paddy Pimblett fight. Do you feel, if you were champion, that he still needs to win one more before he gets that shot, or are you almost willing to give him that early to have that big grudge match and sort of finish that storyline?
For sure he needs to win one more fight because there are more contenders in the division that deserve the title shot before him. So if he wins the fight, he puts himself in a position where he can fight for the title. I will give him the opportunity to fight for the title because we have a history behind, so it's going to be a massive fight.
Meanwhile, let's talk about Paddy Pimblett. He just beat Chandler, and now everyone's looking at the next big step. Arman Tsarukyan would be a perfect opponent. That fight could be for a title shot. And if Paddy somehow wins, then Ilia Ben Paddy. That becomes massive. Imagine that fight in Spain, in Ilia's home country, in a stadium that holds 100,000 people. It'd be the biggest UFC fight ever. Paddy becomes a superstar if he beats Ilia, already is one if he beats Charles, and when those two collide, fireworks. There's even the Santiago Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. It has a retractable roof, perfect for an MMA night. That's the place Dana would pick, no questions.
Speaking of big fights and big atmospheres, obviously you've been very vocal about the Dana situation, and we know Dana's stance on stadium events, but he is promoting Canelo Crawford later this year at Allegiant Stadium, so is there any part of you that really hopes he has a great experience promoting that at the stadium so he can maybe change his mind on doing the inevitable at the Santiago Bernabeu?
So to be honest, the conversations that I have with them, like, I don't know if I want to do it in Spain in the stadium, because if they make that happen, I had to fight at 4 in the morning local time, so I don't want to do that, to be honest. I'm a professional athlete. I want to fight in good conditions, you know what I mean? So if something changed and they gonna do it in a prime time, in the local time, of course, yes, it will be huge. If not, I prefer to fight always in the United States.
Seriously, that's the dream. Host a mega fight in Spain, but here's the twist. If Ilia doesn't want to fight there because of the late timing, then who would? If the hometown hero won't do it, no one else will. That's what makes this moment so important. Ilia needs to be that guy.
You're in this like familiar spot again where it's like you're fighting like a guy that people love. Like they loved Alex, loved Max, you know, like does that wear on you ever? Like, can I just fight somebody that people don't like it at some point? Are you feeling that at all?
Not really, you know, when I get the call and they told me that I have to face a guy, I don't care if the people loves him or not. I don't know. But of course, I would prefer to fight to someone that the people don't like him that much, as Charles or Walk or Max Holloway, because I don't know if you can find many people that say something bad about them. So yeah, it's kind of weird.
And did you catch that smirk again? Ilia loves playing the villain. He keeps getting matched with fighters who are fan favorites. Vote Max, Charles. These guys are beloved. And Ilia, he's the disruptor, the one who shakes it all up. He talks big, he sells the fight, and naturally fans start rooting against him. That makes him the bad guy. But against someone like Arman, who fans don't really love, that might be the one fight where Ilia becomes the hero for a change. He can flip the script, just this once.
You think at the end of your career we'll think about you more as a featherweight or a lightweight?
Lightweight.
Yeah.
And now we know Ilia plans to fight a lot at lightweight. Out of his UFC fights so far, 7 have been at featherweight. Only the Jai Herbert bout was at lightweight. But now, he's saying we'll remember him not as a featherweight, but as a lightweight legend. So who could be on the list next? If he beats Charles, he could fight Paddy, or maybe Arman. Then there's Gaethje, who might come back for a big payday or title shot. Maybe even Islam drops down again. Imagine a Holloway rematch, although that seems unlikely. Chandler's still in the mix somehow. Maybe Dan Hooker sneaks into contention. Then you've got names like Matteo Gamrot, Rafael Fiziev, Bahamondes. Honestly, lightweight isn't what it used to be, but Ilia is about to bring that fire back.
He talked about you fighting these beloved fighters, these beloved heroes of the sport. Do you hope one day that people view you in the same way they view a Max Holloway, an Alex Volkanovski, a Charles Oliveira? Does that matter if the public support is there for you or not?
Of course, if you get the public support, it's always great, it's always important, but they have the history with the fans, so what can I do with that, you know what I mean? Even me, I'm fan of those guys. I'm fan of Walk. I always like to watch him fight with Holloway. I like his fight style. I like him as a person, the values he represents. With Oliveira, the same. He has, like, I don't know, the most finishes in the UFC history. But when it comes to competition, I have to do my job.
And here's where Ilia stands apart. He doesn't just beat people, he destroys them, absolutely crushes them, puts them in the dirt. He doesn't just win, he finishes fights fast, hard, and with a statement. That's why people either love him or hate him, but everyone respects him. Let's not forget, Holloway had never been knocked out until Ilia. Volk dropped like a tree against the cage with a single shot, and now Charles might be next. Ilia folds MMA legends like they're nothing. That kind of dominance builds buzz, but it also builds enemies.
Guys, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And right there, Ilia Topuria is doing what every fighter should be doing, promoting himself. He's speaking English and Spanish, holding his own presses and making his voice heard. That's how stars are made. He understands one thing very well. His skills and knockouts inside the cage are already world class, but outside the cage, he has to make sure people are watching. That's what makes Ilia different. That's why fans, even the ones who boo, can't take their eyes off him. So shout out to Ilia. He's not just a fighter, he's building something bigger, a name, a legacy. Let us know what you think of his press conference. Was his confidence too much, or do you believe he's really that guy? Either way, we're watching, everyone is, and we'll see how it all plays out in the octagon.